Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 Wild Sheep Foundation's Women in Hunting Initiative Seminar. We hope you've been enjoying this best-in-class event, having a great time watching the films and seminars, talking with some of the world's finest exhibitors, and chatting with your friends. The Wild Sheep Foundation's Women in Hunting Initiative was established in 2018, and I'm honored to be the lead of this initiative and the chair of its committee. Our committee is representative of female conservationists and hunters from the United States and Canada who hold unique perspectives of what it is to be a woman in hunting. The committee has engaged with our community in the past to determine what it is the women of the Wild Sheep Foundation and beyond want and need for resources, supports, mentoring, and more. Our work is ongoing and being developed, and as we finalize more of it, we'll definitely be sharing it with you. The business of building a platform and the resources to support the women of our community is no small feat, and we could not accomplish our goals without the support of our donors. I'd like to acknowledge the following companies and individuals for having made 100% donations in support of the Women in Hunting initiative. In 2020, we were fortunate to have received 100% donations from Axial Precision, Andrew Foster, Two Lazy Two custom-built rifles, Jay Scott and Cheryl McCracken, Pursue the Wild, Christy Titus and Jake Vibert. And this year, Joe Latart of Alaska Wilderness Enterprises has made a 100% donation for a guided 10-day Alaska interior grizzly hunt for one woman and one non-hunter, guided by the accomplished Sarah Brandenburg. Check out for that auction item in tonight's live auction. That would be item 9A, and send yourself or a woman you want to support on this amazing opportunity. One of the greatest resources we have is our people, our family of the Wild Sheep Foundation. The men and women of our world are smart, resilient, and resourceful, and always willing to extend a helping hand. Today, I'm excited to facilitate a conversation with three accomplished, talented, and engaging women who hunt and are guide for wild sheep, many other species of wildlife, and are dedicated conservationists. Just so you know, this conversation is pre-recorded, but we're all online with you right now watching it being broadcast, and we're available to answer your questions. Just use that Q&A widget on the right hand of your screen to type your questions, and one of our expert panelists will gladly answer. There's no doubt that we will all be inspired today by these women and learn something, or maybe a lot, along the way. So joining us today are Anna Voracek, who's a resident of the grand state of Alaska, but's joined us today from the balmy state of Arizona. Hi, Anna.
Hello.
Stephanie Lau is joining us from her home in God's country, the stunning province of Alberta. I might be a bit biased there. And finally, the ever-adaptable Rachel Attila has dialed in from beautiful British Columbia. Welcome to this year's seminar, all of you. So Anna, I'd like to start with a question for you.
Sure.
Anna, you were featured in the fall 2016 Wild Sheep magazine in an article titled Putting the She in Sheep, written by Ashley Oliverio. It's a fantastic article, I love it. And there's so many inspirational vignettes and tips that any woman can learn from. And I was really struck by the fact that you decided to become a hunter in midlife, which is a decision I'm personally familiar with, having made that too. And you know, I loved how you mentioned the importance of surrounding yourself with good men who believe in you. My question for you is, how would you recommend a solo woman who has no existing connections in the hunting and conservation community best navigate seeking out that type of support and mentorship?
Well, first of all, if a woman has, if she's been sparked by an idea somewhere that she wants to hunt, she needs to take action. Without action, there is no going forward. So as you yourself did, Renee, to get involved in organizations that are hunting or conservation organizations and volunteering, participating in those things, A woman can't expect somebody to just start mentoring her without her doing something. So by surrounding herself with good people in those organizations, and the opportunities will come, as will the mentors. Now, certainly there's social media if a woman has specific questions, gear, that type of stuff. And there's lots of places on social media where she can go out and ask specific questions. But if you really want to internalize it and to start hunting, then you need to go where the hunters are. And the other thing is book a hunt. One of the easiest ways to get hunting is to book a deer hunt. And if you say, well, I don't have the money, well, guess what? It costs. And you have to be willing to put out to participate. So go hunting, book yourself a hunt, go hunting. You'll learn a lot from the guide you're with. And again, ask other hunters where they might go. But definitely get out there and start taking action.
Thanks, Anna. That's excellent advice. And you're right. I did a lot of that too. Started off by joining local fish and game associations and other organizations just to meet people. And the more I came out, the more I volunteered, the more, those relationships just naturally came. So excellent. Thanks. Rachel. You're one of BC's most accomplished and skilled horsewomen and mountain guides, and you're really influential and inspirational to many women and young girls. I wonder if you could please discuss with us what a culture of women in hunting and conservation means to you personally, and how we as a community can get there.
To be honest, that's a very humble accolade, but there's a lot of women that I've looked up to. When I first started going to the mountains, I didn't grow up in a outfitting community. My parents took us camping, and it was my godparents that actually opened up that door. So I'm a symbiotic child of the process, which just means joining into what Anna kind of talked about, into the greater community. From there, you're able to make those connections and harbor those relationships. So it's nurturing for young people, young women especially, to get into it. I had a common ground when I was a child. I wanted a horse. And God bless my parents, I started figuring out how I was going to get off at the bus stop to go and look at a horse for sale. And then from there, I started going to the mountains from my godparents and started riding and learning to train. And I think the biggest thing was being there to put my hand up and say, I'd like to learn. For women, I think that's the best concept, is being able to get your hands dirty and being okay with saying, first, I don't understand, can you please help me? And also putting yourself in the situations where you have a nurturing community around you. I think of that's kind of the basis for what it's meant for me, because I didn't know as a child if I wanted to be a guide or an outfitter, or that world even existed. And giving myself the opportunity to expand and travel all the Western provinces and down into the South Pacific, every opportunity was a new place to grow, to learn, and to make friendships that have become like family over the course of the last 20 years. So it's been a beautiful way to make a living and to get to experience the world as a greater global community. So I think we're all just a little bit sad that we can't be celebrating in person together, but there's always hope.
Thanks, Rachel. That's great. And I wonder if I can maybe just ask you a little follow-up on that. So when you think about the conservation aspect of women becoming involved in conservation, I wonder what your thoughts are about some of the recent initiatives we've seen out of British Columbia from Wild Sheep Society of BC with their One Campfire and I Hunt initiatives, and if you see a natural tie-in for a woman who might, even be a little bit nervous about hunting, and maybe her first step is more conservation oriented.
That's a great opportunity. A friend of mine, Lisa Hetrick, she was the past executive director, and that's how she was able to make friends. And incidentally, we went on a couple hunts together. But it was getting yourself out there into the field, much to what Anna had said, and like what you've done yourself, Renee, and kind of diving into why do we hunt? Why is it so important that this conservation dollar goes back into like the MOVI project? And I think when you have a fundamental understanding of all of the aspects, it's like studying for a test. So it gives you a little bit more gumption to get out as well, and you understand not only what you're going to hunt, the resources behind it, but fundamentally everything that's gone in to preserve that right for you. And it kind of gives you a little bit more of a take home as a conservationist. Rocky Mountain Goat Alliance, they've been able to give away some hunts. Backcountry BC and Beyond has had actually Shawnee and her husband come up there, and it was a great experience for the two of them. I know they're itching to come back up to the Cassiar, and it's one of those ways that just kind of ties in to give you that educated experience, I would guess.
Thank you. Awesome. All right, Stephanie. At the 2020 Sheep Show, you were selected to receive the Wild Sheep Foundation's GCF Dalzell Outstanding Guide Award. And that's a remarkable honor for any guide. But the banquet room that night absolutely exploded when your name was announced. And you received a long and well-deserved standing ovation to acknowledge you as the first woman recipient. And, I was reading some articles, and I read a quote from Amanda Tompkins from Big Nine, who said, "We've only had a few clients question her capabilities at first glance, but by day one of the hunt, they're quickly set straight." And, I was wondering if you would please discuss how in the over 12 years you've been guiding, how the landscape has improved for you as a woman who guides in this industry.
I think that over time it gets easier and easier. I know I've had some clients that really kind of question, well, I got a female guide, and I always just say, give me a day on the mountain. You can make your decision. If you don't like it, we'll trade up with somebody else. It's not that big of a deal, but like you said, for the most part, they're pretty good. And each year that we're out there and have another season under our belt, it gets easier and easier. It's the experience. You become a little more known. People know your name. So that just makes it a little bit easier for us being female guides.
Great, okay. Rachel, as a guide, do you have anything else to say about that?
Steph answered it perfectly. I think male or female, young guys have the same issues. They're a young buck that's fresh out of the ranching community, and they're chasing sheep or moose for the first time, but we all learn. And as hunters, we're always stewards of, it might be the exact same rut, but moose get different ideas, or sheep decide to go over different mountain ranges, or Wolverine shows up. So I think the big thing as a guide is just being adaptable and being humble. And yeah, I would say I agree with everything Steph said.
Great, thank you. Thanks. Okay. Anna, I wonder if you can give us some of your best tips for learning how to temper your expectations on a hunt.
Oh my gosh. Best tips for tempering expectations. Well, first of all, make sure you're doing it for the right reason. And we all have different reasons, but reasons that most of us have in common are we love to be outdoors. We love to put ourselves in the wilderness. We love wildlife, watching the wind move the grass and the trees, the camaraderie of being out there. If you're not out there for those reasons, you probably need to ask yourself why you're really out there. Going out there with a positive attitude, that's the most important thing. If you think you're going to go out there and be the biggest and the baddest and stuff, well, you're probably not. Just a nice positive attitude is what people want out there in the field. Have tolerance for your companions and for yourself, because you'll make mistakes. They'll make mistakes. As long as you go out there knowing that you have more to learn and more challenges to overcome yourself, so that you can keep learning and intuiting these stuff about yourself, you'll have a great hunt. It's not always the kill. I mean, sure, that's a nice thing to top a hunt off with, but that's not typically why we're out there.
Right. Thanks, Anna. Thank you.
Mhm.
Stephanie, you have a really enthusiastic following in the hunting and conservation world, and without question, you're an inspiration to many women and young girls within our community. And I wonder if you can talk about how you can leverage your influence to best support the exploding demographic of women in hunting.
That's a tough question. I had to think about it a lot on how I would get my point across. I asked a few friends and stuff, and the only thing that I could come up with was I find it easier to just lead by example. It's easier for me to show someone who I am and how I do it than it is to try and explain it. I don't know how else to put it. That's a tough question for me. So leading by example, I think, is the biggest part.
Great. And I wonder, like locally in Alberta, are there many opportunities for you to engage with women or young girls within the community locally? I imagine there must be, but not sure.
We have a few clubs around, like our fishing game clubs and stuff around. Other than that, anybody that I go out hunting with, friend, she's been a non-hunter her whole life, and she wanted to get into hunting because she sees what we get to do and she loves to be outdoors. So just in the last couple of years, she has started hunting through kind of myself and my older brother. So we can kind of just spread it around the community that way, and if anybody's out there that wants to start hunting, whether it's just deer or anything around here in Alberta that we can do in the off season, then that's great. I'm willing to be here to help and lend a hand and try to teach what I know.
Well, your friend's really lucky to have you as her mentor. Rachel, I wonder, we can talk about some of these bigger ideas, but sometimes it just comes down to, brass tacks. And so you're, as an experienced mountain guide, I'd like you to talk, please, about the best way that a woman can prepare, physically, mentally, even just practically what you pack, how can a woman best prepare for mountain hunting?
I think the very essence of going into a mountain hunt is very humbling. A lot of people, when they first start mountain hunting in the remote parts of, their home province, whether it's Alberta, BC, Yukon, Northwest Territories, Alaska, if you're hunting at home turf, it seems quite daunting at first when all of a sudden the plane flies away and you've booked your first, solo trip and you realize, oh my goodness, we are in the middle of nowhere. You can't just walk to your pickup truck and walk out. And I think for women, I know for myself, I've tried to find hunting partners that just wanted to go out, that were girlfriends. And a big part of their insecurity was just realizing that our exit strategy and your preparedness is on you. You have to have, you have to have a plan, you have to have a safety procedure, you have to be able to understand communication, have sat phones, inReaches. So fundamentally, it breaks down to just being prepared. You can't show up to a test and expect to get an A on it if you haven't studied. So the biggest thing would be figuring out what species you want to go after and almost becoming obsessed with learning the animal's behaviors, learning what gear you're going to need to be successful to keep you on the mountain when it starts raining or when it gets cold, or whatever plethora of experiences or opportunities might come at you. A big one for women, I think, is knowing your weapon. There's a lot of options for calibers out there. And my biggest thing that I hate to see is someone cringe when they go to shoot in their rifle because they're either afraid of it or they've had a bad experience. I would rather someone show up with what you would consider a legal but lighter caliber that they're completely comfortable with, so that when they have the follow through shot, they're looking at the kill zone and they're not worried about flinching. Because as hunters, we know, you can have a great powerful rifle, but it's when you make the right shot that's going to make you a successful hunter. So for women, I think it's, first of all, making sure you have the right gear, understanding your game, and choosing the right partner to go with. Someone, if you're very new and very fresh, like Steph was saying, taking on someone that is okay with asking questions, they're comfortable around you, you have kind of a nurturing atmosphere, that makes for a great positive experience where that person then wants to know, well, let's go again and let's figure out what we're going to hunt next time. And as a guide or just a hunter that likes to go out with their friends, I think that's single-handedly the biggest compliment you can have. Hunting is a traditional community sport for survival and what have you. And now we get to do it for, subsistence and for sport. So when you get to combine those for women, I think if you can go out in the field and you already have, ABC ticked off, then you're going back to the good old fashioned time of let's sit and watch this cloud pass because we're not seeing sheep right now, so we're gonna have a nap. Like what Anna was saying, experiencing what it is about being out there. There's nothing more humbling than when the float plane flies away or the boat drops you off or whatever, and it's just quiet. And I think for the first time hunter, it's a little bit daunting, but once you settle into it, it's addictive.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great. Stephanie, I wonder, you are so well known in the guiding community, and I can only imagine that being nimble and adaptable and positive must be some of the hallmarks of an exceptional guide. And we'd love it if you would tell us, please, about a time when you really had to demonstrate those qualities.
I think the biggest hunt that I did, we were hunting sheep, and we got onto this ram and got set up for the shot, and the hunter missed. And that's hard on everyone. You're kind of bummed out, and the hunter gets real down on himself, can't believe that happened. But I think that's where you need to be really positive, because the hunt's not over. And that's what I told him. I said, if you haven't hunted enough if you haven't missed. So I said, the hunt's not over. Let's just keep trying. We'll back down off this mountain and keep hunting, and it'll be fine. Like, let's just keep going. And that kind of picked his spirits up a little bit. So anyway, we finished off that day, and we hunted a few more days, and he ended up killing a really great ram a couple days later. And that one just wasn't meant to be. But you really have to stay positive on that, because a person's attitude can kind of drop, or the client's feelings towards everything. Like, if I wasn't positive, who's to say that he wouldn't just quit, and want to just go home, So it worked out in the end. We killed a great ram, and everybody was happy and stuff. And he thanked me for it after. He's like, it just, that having your positive attitude really made a difference in that situation that happened, So it was unfortunate, but heck, we just kept on going and got it done anyway.
That's great life advice in general too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Anna, I've read some of your comments on how hunting is empowering to women. And so would you please just talk to us more about that, the empowerment of women who hunt?
Well, I think anytime you do something where you are finding self-worth and accomplishment, you are empowered. And as Rachel was saying, there's so much to go into going out there to hunt, from the planning to being dropped off and knowing that it's up to you to survive. That all of those skills that you build on. And I tell you what, every time I go out hunting, I'm building on my skills, learning something new. And if I'm not, well, I better open my eyes, because there's something out there new to learn. And all of those skills contribute to a woman's self-worth, to building her confidence, to knowing that she can do it. And then actually being able to harvest game successfully, that is like the tip of the hunt, because now you're able to have the self-worth of taking that yield home, that harvest home, and sharing it with family and friends, sharing that organic meat to just feel the gratitude of the people, and you yourself having the gratitude of harvesting that animal to be able to share it. All of that, every little step of it creates a woman's self-worth, or helps to create a woman's self-worth and build that confidence that she needs out there in the hunting field and in life in general. And we've got several guides there that are very accomplished, successful women. So
Excellent. Thanks, Anna.
Mhm.
Rachel, here's a question I've often thought about. I have not yet booked a mountain hunt with a guide, but it's going to happen soon. And so I wonder, in your many years as a guide, what have you learned are the very most important things that a guide and a hunter need to discuss and reach an understanding about before they even leave base camp, to ensure that everybody has a positive experience?
I think every guide will stand with me that communication and expectation are the two biggest things between any hunting party, guide and client, or two friends out sitting on a hill. Communication is key. You have to communicate. As a client, it's your duty to communicate any, grievances you might have, or your body that might not be able to function the way you thought it would. You've trained and prepared, but your back is sore after 8 hours of climbing. Well, my back's sore. Like being able to talk with them as a fellow human being, but also as your lifeline when you're out there. And as the guide, you have to be able to communicate certain options. People are there to hunt. And John DeVries once told me when I was a kid, when I was on my first sheep hunt, and he said, Rachel, you're here because they're here. This is their hunt. And it doesn't matter, at the end of the day, you need to make it about you as a team. They're relying on you for your expertise or your opportunities that you've had in the past. And they're going to use that knowledge, and they're also going to want to be a part of it. And I think for people, as long as you go in knowing that you're both going to have hunted, and maybe you're both successful hunters, or the client is new to the hunting scene, sharing in knowledge or being able to put different plays on game together, I think it builds a stronger foundation between hunter and client. So making sure that you're teamed up. Your outfitters are usually excellent at teaming up the right personalities. And like Steph said, I've had guys that were apprehensive about having a female guide, and Harold said, well, give her a day or two. And, if you want to change out, then we'll see what we can do. And they never get that sat phone call back at camp, because actions speak louder than words. You keep your head down, you work hard. You as a guide make the client comfortable. You prepare them for any situation, whether that's tying up your horse and helping them at the beginning of your hunt and hiking up the mountain, to being able to read your client and, going, well, I think we're kind of at our limit for today, and being able to back off the mountain and not being prideful on that. So you can only go as fast as the slowest man. And usually that's usually the person that's got the rifle, whether, you're running together or you're trotting. Anna and I can attest that sometimes I'm standing behind her when we got to pull the bow, and I fall backwards into the moss and she shoots a caribou at 3 feet. So, but it's communication. And I think that's expectation of knowing that sometimes you shoot on day one, and some days you shoot on the last hour on the last day of the hunt before your plane comes. And being okay with any scenario in between, and being able to go with it, like Steph says, you got to flow with it. You can't get too worked up, and you got to stay positive. So if you got that, you'll have a great hunt.
That's awesome advice. Thank you.
Renee, can I just pop in for a moment?
Yeah.
I would just like to add to what Rachel has said, because I'm not a guide. I am a hunter usually. I go out with other people, but from the hunter perspective, especially I think as a woman, when I first started hunting, I was hunting with men. There weren't very many or at all women out there. So I often found it sometimes hard to be assertive, and trying to make sure that I was heard. I didn't want to come across as a whiny woman, or a little more than whiny woman. Anyway, so just being assertive as the hunter and letting the guide know what your needs are. But the other part of it too is helping out in the camp. Don't go out there expecting everything to be done for you. again, those skills you're going to learn, take on some of what the guide is doing. If they're having to take care of the horse, get over there and help them take care of the horse. You're going to learn more. Setting up your own tent, all of that stuff. Definitely some people go out there and they just want a camp that caters to them personally, and they don't do anything except pull the trigger or hit the release. But just take part as a team and make sure, as Rachel said, that you're communicating. And even if it's hard, just be assertive and let them know what your capabilities are or what you really would like to learn on that hunt. And your guides are more than willing to give as much to you as they can. So anyway, just another little tip.
Thanks a lot. That's excellent points. And, you know, sometimes I think we all recognize that there's something particularly unique about mountain hunters, sheep hunters, and generally speaking, fairly forceful personalities, but not everybody is. And learning to be assertive and expressing what you need is really important, and it can be tough. I really appreciate that input, Anna. Really good.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Rachel, can you talk to us about what some of your goals are for the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Is this pre-COVID or post-COVID?
Whatever you want it to be.
Well, immediately in a perfect world, I'd love for the borders to open so that our outfitters, guides, crews, and all of the people in outdoor recreation could have a great and successful season. I set out 10 years ago with a plan that I wanted to guide for some of the best areas and the best outfits. Northwest Territories, Yukon, British Columbia, looked into Alberta because I decided that I'd want to be an outfitter. The thing I'm also realizing and becoming quite humble on is that, you know, there's always opportunity. 5 years from now, I'd love to be in an area if it's viable, because at the end of the day, it is a business. But one of the things that I think is quite magical about it that I know I got to experience as a byproduct was the way that you can raise a family. And I think for myself, family is very important, and teaming up with the right partner that wants to be involved in some facility of the outdoor industry is kind of a huge part of, I hope, what my future looks like. So I hope 15 years down the road to still be attending Sheep Show and giving it heck with any partners that want to go in the backpack and the horse packing competitions, and cheering on all the people that basically come to that show because they finally get it. They've got to go on their first sheep hunt, or they're on their 7th sheep hunt, and when you ask them about their time and their eyes just light up, that's like a drug. I think that's the thing about being a hunting guide. I never got to be a hunter until I was later in life, and I wanted to go hunting, so I became a guide. And then I started hunting for myself. And I think that's the magic part of it, that whether it's 5, 10, or 15 years down the road, it'll be in this area in some form or another.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Rachel. And I think Stephanie and Anna and me, we share that in common with you. We've all married men that share that passion and are enthusiastic about it. Wouldn't you agree, Steph, Anna?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You have to have an understanding man, and I think that's the hardest part. That I've got to hunt with Anna, and Ken is a wonderful man, and I know Brady, Steph, they're a dream team. So it's one of those things that I think I've had to learn late in life, that it's okay to be who you are, whether it's a hunting guide or not, and the right partner will find you. So for all the women out there, don't be afraid to do what actually sets your heart on fire instead of conforming to everything else.
Absolutely, Rachel. Good for you, girl.
Fantastic. Thanks. Stephanie, last question for you. What is the single greatest piece of advice that you can give to a woman who may want to start mountain hunting?
I know Rachel mentioned this in having goals, and that's what I did. I set goals. Even when I was younger, I wanted to go to the mountains. And really, when I was really young, I wanted to have my horses in the mountains. That's what I wanted. So we spent lots of time out there with my family. Dad took us out every year. We'd spend 2, 3, 4 weeks out there. And then I just kept upping that goal, but they were attainable goals that weren't far-fetched. Like they weren't 10, 20 years down the road. They were like a yearly thing, you know? So I started working for an outfitter, wrangling and doing guided pack trips and fishing trips all on horses. And I thought that was love at that age. I'm like, you know, this is the life. And then I wanted to mix in the hunting with that. I grew up hunting with my family and stuff. So I set the goal, you know, I wanted to add the hunting into that, into the horses and stuff. And then I got a call one day and an opportunity to go, and I didn't even think about it. I just said, yep, I'll be there. So I left, headed to BC. And when I got there, I started out wrangling and cooking the first year. And I was like, why did I wait so long to do this? I was, you know, 19 at the time. And so then I just kept upping my goal. Okay, I'm here to wrangle and cook. I don't care how many years it takes me to become a guide. I want to become a guide, and that's what I want to do. So, and all that took was to, you know, work hard. And I had mentioned to one of the guides, you know, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to guide, whether if it was one elk hunt in my life, I'm going to do that elk hunt, and, you know, I can try to stage it up from there. So he said that to the outfitter. And when he picked me up in the airplane, he just said, so I hear you want to guide. And I was like, I'm new at the outfit. Like, who told you that, you know, kind of thing. And so he just said, you know, if you can get whatever you need done to prep meals and stuff, because I was cooking. And he said, go out and start learning the trails. And the next year I went back and I was guiding. So, and then, you know, I just kept going from there. I said, okay, I'm elk and moose and goat guiding. I want to guide a sheep hunt. So that's what I worked towards. So I just kind of kept working up to, you know, my stages of goals and stuff. So that's kind of how I did it. So I think setting attainable goals is really important.
Awesome. That's great advice. I was remiss in reminding folks who are just joining us that this is actually a recorded conversation between Anna, Stephanie, Rachel, and I. And but we are actually watching it live with you right now. And please ask your questions in the right-hand side of your screen, that Q&A widget, and one of these expert women will answer your question. And I'm going to move into, Anna, a final question for you.
Sure.
One that, you know, really resonates with me is the ethics around our industry and our sport. And I'd like to talk to you about ethics. And you're very well known for having unquestionable ethics in the field, and for making choices around the ethics of fair chase and conservation principles. And so, you know, you've been quoted as saying, and I love this, stay humble. We are not entitled to kill animals just because we pay or plan to. God gives us these creatures to hunt. And I'd like it, please, if you could just expand your thoughts around those ideas and concepts.
Well, to me, there's 3 very important things that go into that people need to understand. And one of them is that hunting is a right, but it's a regulated right that's given to us by our states, our governing bodies. And that is determined by the game management, the biologists, who determined type and number of animals. We are then able to get permits and go out and hunt those animals. It's not just you get to go out and hunt whatever you want, when you want. And once we have those permits, we then are supposed to abide by the laws, the regulations that have been established around hunting in that state. And each state has different regulations. So as long as you're going out and you're abiding by the legal laws or the legal limits, regulations when you're out there hunting, that's one thing you have to do or should be doing. The second part of that is, to me, hunting is a privilege. And it's a privilege that has been given to us by, I would say, God or our creator. I truly feel that we are stewards of our land. And as stewards of our land, that is being stewards of the wildlife that we hunt, the wildlife we don't hunt, their habitat, ensuring that they are managed in a correct way, And part of that is becoming citizen advocates for conservation and wildlife, speaking up at the fishing game, I'm sorry, or other organizations. Then the third part of that, and to me, this is the most important, is ethics. And to me, ethics is a moral code, and each person has their own moral code. So, do you live with integrity? You know, that's a question to ask yourself. Do you live with integrity? Do you have a hunting partner that lives with integrity? And that is because the way you live is also going to be the way you hunt. Are you going to break the laws? Are you going to fudge on this or fudge on that? Some people would say, well, it's not ethic to take a long range shot on an animal. It isn't if you're not a good long range shooter. But do you go out there and do you get gain the skills? Do you get the practice in? Do you have the equipment to do it? I bow hunt. So as a bow hunter, some people will never take a shot beyond 30 yards or 40 yards. And some guys that I know are excellent shots out to 100, and they get it done every time. And even at 40 yards, say I go, oh, I don't want to go beyond 40 because I feel that's where I'm comfortable. That's where I'm pretty much always going to be guaranteed to make an ethical hit on the animal. You know, and just being ready to change your plan and being ready to say, no, I'm not taking the shot. And even when you have a guide telling you, take the shot. No, I'm not taking the shot. I don't feel comfortable with that shot. Ethics, it's a personal choice. It's the code you live by. And we all have different codes. What I don't like seeing is other hunters mandating or judging each other based on what they perceive ethics should be. Ethics is a personal choice. Now, certainly if somebody's out there breaking the law or they're shooting willy-nilly and you know, don't have the skill to be out there hunting and taking the shots that they're taking, you know, that's maybe they need to be called on that. But other than that, just go out there and be a good steward, be a good person, live with integrity, and you'll always have good ethics, is what I believe.
Fantastic response. Thank you so much for that. I'm Steph, Rachel, anything to add to that Anna has not already captured?
I think Anna did a great job. It's, you know, it's a responsibility as a hunter, as a guide, as someone in the field. You have a responsibility and a duty to make a quick and ethical harvest and to be appreciative of the opportunity that you have. So well done, Anna. That's a great response.
Hey, I hunted with you, Rachel, so, you know.
Hey, in our socks through a buffalo herd, let me tell you, that was probably one of my most epic hunts to date.
It was one of the ones I had the most laughs on.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was wonderful, wonderful.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, all three of you. This has just been a great opportunity to you know, ask you some direct questions and hear your thoughts. I'm sure everybody listening today has really enjoyed it, and I appreciate your willingness to be so open and direct in your answers very much. To everybody tuning in with us, thank you. The Women in Hunting Initiative is, we're starting to solidify things. We're gaining a little bit of traction. There's going to be some exciting things coming out this year from the Wild Sheep Foundation Women in Hunting Initiative that we'll be communicating out on social media and the website. So stay tuned for that. And ladies, thank you again very much. Take good care.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you, Renee.